think. All right, probably streaming. I think I'm streaming. It says I'm streaming. Now I'm gonna start YouTube. Start YouTube. Okay, I am broadcasting to YouTube. Modify. Oh, there's the server. I don't know, man. Who knows? Someday, and I feel like I probably say this every time I stream. Someday, I will like plan a stream, like before I start. Like I plan it kind of. Oh, I'm gonna move camera into streamer mode. Hello. You know, like, hey, I'm talking to you, the camera. Hey, I'm looking at the screen. That's the directionality you see. But now what I want to check. I want to check Twitch to make sure I'm actually streaming, because somehow I never believe that it's happening. And then Discord will tell me when the notifications go out, which, to be honest, I don't... I need to, like, figure out the notification stuff, because, like, it's not... Something is posting to Twitter, and I don't know what. And it, like, does an okay job, but it like, I don't know how to customize it. It, like, does an okay job, but it, like, I don't know how to customize it. It, like, does an okay job, but it, like, I don't know how to customize it. It, like, does an okay job, but it, like, I don't know how to customize it. I don't think you're getting... Oh, you are getting desktop audio. You're getting too much desktop audio. Wee, bye. Give me feedback. Okay. Now the real question for me, you see, is okay. No, so, no. YouTube. Are you streaming? Am I streaming? Would it tell me if I'm streaming? What's this? New subscriber. That's great. I love that, but I don't know who. Now you can see that all I actually do in my life is watch Dimension 20 and Hot Ones. Well, that and like Blender tutorials. Like, am I streaming? It says I'm streaming. On this thing over here, it says I'm streaming. I don't know if this is a secret, so I'm not going to show it to you. But what does that link go to? No. I think it's broken. I think I'm not streaming to YouTube. Oh. I don't want you to see that either. Secrets. Okay, well, that's good. Live? Yeah, I don't know. I'll post it to. I'll send it. I'll like sync it from Twitch to YouTube later. I always like default to Twitch because it's, you know, Twitch, right? You're like, hey, I'm live streaming. It's like, yeah, that's like you do on Twitch. But I do despise the ads, and I hate the fact that I'm like asking people to like, hey, sit through ads. Like, it's like, and it's like obnoxious ads. They like they're like long, unskippable, and they come back. And it's like, man, fuck you. But it's cool. We use the tools that are available, and we use the tools that work. Oh, hey, Glitch Robot. It's not streaming to YouTube, you mean? It's streaming to Twitch, which is what I want. Yeah, there's something. I'm using OBS, and because I've switched. I was using Streamlabs, which, like, you know, like realistically like works cleaner. But OBS is like is a cool example of an open source project, and I'm trying to use it. The problem with it is not that it can't do the things that I want it to do. It's that it takes a little bit of extra effort. Yes, it is. It's a Dremel something or another. It works pretty well. Hi, Tower Mind, by the way. Nice to meet you. Oh, one of the things that's not set up is I don't get notifications when people like follow because I don't know how to set that up here, and I'm not going to do that now because I have other things. So if somebody is following me, thank you in advance and in retrospect. Okay, today, on this lovely day, I'm going to set something to print for you, Tower Mind, because you asked and because you're new. and because I have something that I needed to print anyway. There am I going? What am I looking for? I'm looking for. I have a friend who had like the okay, there goes the blood oops. That's the various notifications going out. I'm like, ugh. It's like hot and whatever. What am I doing here? Oh, Thingiverse croc thing. They like have like the strap, this little button on their strap broke, and they were like, oh no, like I gotta go buy it, but it's expensive from them. I was like, no, this is like the perfect example of something that you 3D print. So I'm gonna throw this on there now because also this is fast, but it'll be done in the time of this stream, and then we can look at it and be like, wow, what a non-exciting shape that is. I'm showing you way too much on my computer right now, but I'm not too concerned about it. I try to be more careful. If you're wondering, the purpose of this stream is to give just kind of a little like hey what's up update kind of thing, because I've been doing a lot of like conference travel and stuff like that, just like basically like showing free mocap to like the various like scientific communities I'm a part of. It's been like visual neuroscience, like robotics, biomechanics, and then I just got back from this, and then it's like last week I got back from this like developmental neuroscience conference, which is not my community, but I know people in there, and they're super stoked on like the ability to like hey, like wow, like a free software that we can use to like track like infants and babies with motion capture. NACOB. I am not coming to NACOB. I don't know what that is. National Conference on Biomechanics or something like that. North American Conference. There's a couple conferences. Yeah, look at that. Oh, that's so cute. I wonder if that's the right size. No, I'm conferenced out. I'm super conferenced out. I've been to 5 conferences in the past 4 months, and that's too many. This has been the first like conference season of my since I became a professor, because I started in 2019 during COVID. Let's see, comments, scale. Works perfectly, perfect. That's what I wanted to see. And I don't have any more in me. North American Biomechanics. Yeah, it's I would like to go to one of those big biomechanics conferences, like this is my first time hearing about that one, but like, you know, American Society of Biomechanics, or like ISPGR, which is like International Society of Posture and Gait. Would love to go to those, but there's only so many. Like, I only have so much mana in the pool, and I have expended it. Oh wait, figure. So the Dremel, this is supposed to connect to my the thing that allows me to send this. I'm supposed to print in 9 minutes. That's awesome. It's supposed to print from like you should be able to send it over from USB, but like it just stopped working, and I put it on the list. Especially, probably, I don't know if you can still hear me mostly. Boink. Whatever that was. Oh my god. Because there is a workflow that doesn't require that USB, and it's basically just like use this thing, which is like annoying, but it's whatever. You know, the list of things is always and forever. So we prioritize it, and we that's how we wind up doing like inefficient workflows for literally years. I haven't been doing this for years, but I've been doing it for a little while. Okay, decrox map, eject. Drink. Oh. It's probably fine. Doink. Doink. Build. From that. Croc snap. And go. and it's off to the races, as they say. Okay, thanks for showing up, folks who are here now. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna be trying a new thing. Variety of new things. Let's see. What am I trying to do? So the new thing I'm trying to do is like a new like notes taking thing. It's a software, not a software, a service called HackMD, which is like it's I'm so stoked on it. It's basically like a real time collaborative markdown editor, kind of like like a Google Doc, like everyone's like editing at the same time, except it's for markdown, and it like syncs through like syncs with GitHub very easily, and it's like fully free and open source. It's not fully free, it's fully open source, and like the free tier is like totally chill, and like the paid tier is like reasonable, and I like it. But so like it's kind of like it's funny to me right now because I'm like oh no, what do I need to do? Which usually when that happens, I open up Obsidian. Markdown is the best. Open up Obsidian and start taking notes, but this isn't like this will like Obsidian will be a part of this process, but I want to do this a little bit more on the level. So I love Markdown too. It has become like a sort of a core like entry level skill in my lab. Like I always like when students come in, it's like, hey, first things first, start writing in Markdown. And I'm trying to like I've been pretty successfully, I think, starting to like move the whole lab towards a model where like if you're writing text, you're writing it in Markdown, because like fuck Microsoft Word, fuck a docx, Google Docs. It's a good service, but like fuck Google. Like I don't want to be beholden to some megacorp telling me that like they get to format my text for me. No. But Google Docs has been the thing that I've had a hard time excising from my workflow, because the collaborative editing is such a useful and powerful tool. And so when I discovered, and I've been looking for something else, I've said many times, like, God, I wish there was something that had this kind of real-time collaborative editing thing, but for Markdown. And I found it, and it's called hackmd.io. And there it is. And there's all my shit again, which again is sort of, you see, this is all like my testing stuff, like here's another note, here's another thing, here's another thing. John Mathis private. It's not actually that private. It's just like I have two personal repositories. I have a public one that's John Mathis / John Mathis, and I have like a private one that's John Mathis / John Mathis _ private. It's not like secrets or anything. It's just like things I don't want to be public. And I think that this, I don't know. Okay, what am I doing? Focus. GitHub, the hub of Git. It is a hub of Git, not the hub of Git. There's been a lot of like reorganization stuff that's been happening, like big reorganization stuff. That's very exciting. There is a commit, which is one of the most like exciting and stressful commits of my life, that I did with Endurance, who is he's on the Discord server. He's like my friend and has become deeply entwined and is like now like a part of the Free Mocap project in a legit, like an official way that I'm gonna leave the official talk on that for the future. But he's like decade plus experience as a tech developer, and like he's been helping me like get this thing out of like the state which it has been in, which is like clean for academic code, and into the state that I want it to be, which is like scalable, enterprise ready software. And so that's very exciting. But there's a commit, I don't know how to find it, I'm not gonna look for it, that where I basically we like merged in and we froze the previous version in the pre-alpha. It's like a release pre-alpha, and then swapped over to like the new version, and that commit removed 28,000 lines of code. There still exists, they're still in the history, but it's just kind of like, okay, moving forward, like we're not going to put any more work into the previous code, we're only going to put the work in the new code, which is kind of puts us in an awkward space now, because the new code is less functional. Like it can do fewer things than the previous code, but it's it's just better to scale from. And arguably, I should have waited until there that sort of the new code and the old code. There's going to be like a crossover point where the new code will match the functionality of the old code, and then it will expand. And realistically, and a lot of there's a strong argument that I should have like waited for that point before I did that big merge. Um, but I don't really have the effort in my head and my lab and my life to like split streams anymore. So we opted, by using the royal we opted to sort of like push that a little sooner than we realistically like it's just there's a whole like strategic conversation about like yada yada blah blah blah. Anyway, so the freemocap project is this guy right here, blah blah blah. Here's the main repo, freemocap/freemocap. That's Skelly's private repository. This is Skelly. Pronouns are he they. And you can create a readme visible anyone. Oh, I'll do that later. What I'm gonna do now is, in the spirit of micro repositories. Oh, is there anything I'm gonna show that's secret here? No. Okay. One of the things I've been working on, because Endurance is, there's a lot of, ton of experience in software, and he's worked in like a bunch of different projects, a bunch of different companies, yada yada yada. I'm gonna drop his LinkedIn in the Who's It, because I think that's how he likes to. That's his most curated online person. Actually, I'm not going to drop the link. I'm just going to show it. It's here, Endurance a Dayhen. You can Google it, and you'll find his lockdown. But he's got like a ton of XP that is relevant to our lives. Okay. And one of the things he's sort of been like, talking to me about like different approaches, and there's like the notion of like the mono repo, where like there's one giant repository that everything works from. Apparently Google is famous for that. They have like a giant repository that has like thousands of commits a day, which like just like stresses me out. But we're going for more of like a micro repository. So the idea is going to be that unlike the previous version, the main repo is going to sort of stay like as clean and lean as possible. And then we can just like have other repositories for other things. So, for example, and in the spirit of like getting actually set up to do the notes part of this, I'm going to make a new repository, and I'm going to call it notes, plans, and scratchpad. And this is just going to be where it's like the repository that's going to have like, follow me on this one, notes and like plans, and then also kind of be like a scratchpad. Basically, this is where the slop goes. And I'm going to make a folder in here called Twitch notes, or Twitch stream notes, I guess. And then that will be markdown files that I'm going to edit in HackMD, sort of in the stream, and they will be kind of like they'll be public-ish. And I think the way it will work is I'm going to set it up so that anyone publicly can like add comments to it, but only me and whoever I decide to add will be able to edit it. And so that way it will be sort of like this, and it'll be on GitHub, so I can like pull it and do it on Obsidian locally. Obsidian MD it's my favorite like desktop markdown editor. It is great. I love it. Obsidian MD. It always looks great. It's like MD is like markdown, but it makes you think like, oh, it's like a doctor, but it's not a doctor. Obsidian is great. So a place for rough cuts and scratch pad and type, rough cuts and sloppy notes and scratch code that should be public but isn't ready for prime time, isn't ready or appropriate for the main freemocap /freemocap repository. And I think this is going to be something that I'm like, because I'm working with a lot of students in my lab, and students are like respectfully, like nervous about like interacting with like the main repository because there's a lot of eyes on it, and like like they're doing stuff for the first time, and it's like it's stressful, and especially now that like the new mode of the free mocap repo is going to be um, like much more locked down. This is part of like what I've been learning from Endurance is like you got to keep that locked down because otherwise like like it's he said this amazing phrase which is that like software development is mostly about managing complexity. Just like he's the best to work with. But and it's like and as things get bigger and bigger and more complex, you need more and more rigorous methods to manage that complexity. And so if you have like leaky sieves and people like who are learning how to interact with that code and sort of like you need people need like a playground to work in, like if to like to try. It's like, oh, I tried it, it's like, you were close. And I think it's helpful to have that just be kind of like a side space, right? So this will kind of be like the slightly more public facing version of my lab repository, which is a private repo. So like you guys can't see it because it's not, no offense, it's just not for you. That's a place where like I haven't really been using it like this, but I kind of want to start using it as like the like that's the like you practice inside and then you practice outdoors and then you practice in prime time. And so it's like I think that there's different stress levels associated with like doing stuff in a private repository versus doing stuff in a public repository that has a sloppy public repository, and then doing it in like the hardcore, like the actual thing. Now I know what you're saying. I don't know if you're saying this, but what my brain is saying is like, well, that's what forks are for. That's what people can fork the main repo and be sloppy there, and then they'll just run into conflicts with our newly automated like pull request system, and that's a good point. No follow-up. Okay, public. Initializes with a README. Sure, go to town. Add a git ignore, yes. What kind? Probably just Python. What do we got in here, friends? God, there's so many kinds of code. Jeez. How we doing, chat? Y'all quiet today? In there? You can be quiet. That's cool. Python. License. Howdy. Studio Galt. Trento. Studio Galt. I remember your name looks familiar. I feel like I've seen a Galt somewhere, but and you're not tagged as a first-time chatter, so hello. If you can, can you remind me where I may have seen your name before? You've been around here? I'm guessing. I think you have been around here. Do you have like I don't know. Anyway, nice to see you again. Choose a license. AGPL. It's not kind of silly, but oh right, yeah. I remember you. Welcome back. That main is Ranch. Great repository. Okay. Yeah. What do you want to edit? Editing is good. You like editing. 2 people are watching it already. Oh my goodness. I'm blowing up. Who is it? Oh, it's Aaron. Hi. Oh, right. Yeah, it's of wow, that thing's already done printing. That's so fun. I've adopted this thing. I remember when I was in grad school, I was talking to like a friend who like went to another person's lab and they were working for like a senior PI. PI is like principal investigator. It's like principal investigator is like a term for like people who have grants to do research. And he was commenting on like the number of typos that his professor like has in emails and stuff like that. And he said it was. I remember like I'm paraphrasing. He was like, yeah, it was really weird for a long time, but then I kind of realized that like he has adopted like a ballistic approach to sending texts and messages and emails, and it's like, and like now that I'm a professor PI myself, I totally get it because it's like you know, I get so many emails and I got so much stuff like in my head that if someone wants to say, if someone like comes in and is like, hey, question, and I'm like, hey, answer. If my answering method involves like proofreading and fixing typos, it's just like that much more effort to send, which means that it like drains the mana pool that much more, which means it's like less likely to happen, or I'm more likely to put it off, and then I'm more likely to forget it. So I've just kind of, I have come to terms with like just having a lot of typos in the things that I say, because it makes me more likely to say them. Which is that's a privilege thing that I'm saying, but it's cool. Alrighty. Choink, choink. So here's the little snap thing. Oh, I should, what isn't? I should print something more fun, because that was too quick. Do I have a Benchy? I haven't printed a Benchy in a while. I do have a Benchy right here. Have I printed a? I haven't printed a Raven Skull in a while. I'll print one of those. Da-da-da-da, build. There we go. That's probably my favorite, one of my favorite models I've ever found. It's like a nice, it's called, I do not have tenure. I am on tenure track. That is different. Let's see, this doesn't fit. Well, anyways. It's supposed to snap together, but it doesn't fit. That's what I thought. I'll have to scale this up or this down or something like that. Which is cool. That's 3D printing. It's rapid prototyping, and it's printed in like 9 minutes, which is awesome. We'll see how this other one goes. All right, this. Let's see now. Oh, right. The actual, like, what I actually want to talk about today, in addition to just like the rambling stuff that I've been doing. Level sensor error. Oh. Yeah, what I want to I want to talk about, like, kind of like get like a task list, kind of like wish list for the sort of fixing and cleaning up and like increasing the sophistication of our Blender output from freemocap, and like methods to load like raw freemocap data, which is effectively like joint trajectories, into Blender to drive a Rigify rig, because if we can drive a Rigify rig with freemocap data, then anyone who sort of has experience or has methods to work with Rigify rigs in like their meshes and their games and their videos or whatever, will then have a way to use freemocap data for their animations. There have been a number of people on the server, on the Discord server. Oh, come on. Okay, not working. Sorry. Oh, here's this guy though. Let's pretend I printed this friend. This is, oops. This is Homunculus loxodontus. It is a model. Deadpool show. Good question. I'll get to that in 1 second. This is called Homunculus loxodontus. It is the spirit of waiting. Homunculus loxodontus, and I love him very much. Look at him. Look at him. Ah, brilliant. Pretend I printed that and that it was cool. Deadpool show. Do you have a timeline for freemocap to be used in real time? Okay, so you just asked 2 questions. To be used in real time with Unreal Engine. So the 2 questions asked there is when real time and when Unreal. And the answer is real time is, and actually I have answers kind of for that. I'll point you towards the place, and then I'll come back and explain it in a sec. Freemocap, because I want to get this notes thing set up. I am basically using Twitch as like a body doubling technique, because it's, which I appreciate. I appreciate your presence. Parasocial relationships are weird, but it's cool. Projects. Free mocap backlog. This is another thing that Endurance has helped me to clean up, and specifically this view. I'm gonna put this in the chat. Doink. And so here's connect with so the timeline, the rough, I won't say timeline, because I'm trying to just get away from like putting any dates into words if I don't need to, because it's just it doesn't, no one enjoys it, because it's just, yeah, anyways. So the workflow will be free mocap to Blender, and then someone on the server whose username I can't recall right now said that there's methods to go straight from Blender to Unreal, and that's all kind of post-processing, right? So it's sort of like you record the videos, you get the data, you pull it into Blender, and then from Blender you pull it into Unreal, and that's kind of hell yeah. Yeah, Godot, y'all been with me since day one. Like, you've been I appreciate the sort of the initial interest that y'all showed, and sort of like you show up in the server and you're like, hey, like, when are we gonna do Godot? And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing in any context. But yeah, and also like you're like the chillest, freest, open sourceist game engine out there. So gotta support free, gotta respect free, y'all. Is that? Yeah. But I've kind of been so the workflow, because I've been kind of focused on like free mocap to Blender for a long time, just because Blender is also the freest and openest sourceist one out there, and they've been like a aspirational kind of model for me for like since I started getting into the since I started like transitioning from like regular ivory tower science to this like open source, open science kind of vibe. Free science, more hardcore than open science. Open is unfortunately a tainted term now, because you can have like open AI, which is not open nor free. So why open source misses the point. We like this. This is how we feel. This is how I don't know. But yeah, so in order to sort of like keep things moving, it's like trying not, because I have like relatively low effort available, just in terms of like, me personally, but also like the people like in my lab, like the people that I can pay to work. We don't want to split the stream too hard, right? So you want to focus on like the achievable goals, and so the pipeline has been doing like the raw machine learning, computer vision stuff into like the raw like synchronization, geometry, and sort of like the parts that we've been like more like my scientific technical wheelhouse, and then trying to get that into Blender, which is not my wheelhouse. I'm not an animator or a game designer or really an artist in any way, except the art of my life, we are all artists of our own lives. But I love the animation community, and so the idea has been to try to get our data into Blender, focusing on Blender, just picking one and choosing and focusing on it, and then getting the data into Blender in a 1 second, Blue Ocean. Once we get it into Blender in the format that the animation community can work with, then we can start branching out and sort of building the secondary connections into your Godots and your Unities and your Unreals and whatnot, on the assumption that because those game engines are sort of already working with Blender, and because Blender produces the kind of stuff that animators like to work with, we can kind of like, if we can push it into Blender, then it will be in the format that the sort of experts in that animation field can work with. And we already got it to the place where like I was able to like bumblefuck my way through making like a Blender output, largely by building on the work of a great student in my lab, Jackie Alex, who is Google or whatever. Oh yeah, and so I got it in there, but it because I didn't know how I'm not an animator. Like I didn't do it in quite the right way, and so animate which I was kind of on purpose. It was not on purpose, but like it was a no. I knew I was doing it the wrong way, but it got it into a format that was close enough to the animators. Animation communities like Wheelhouse that they were able to give me like very specific and meaningful feedback about how to do it better, and so that's kind of it's like as a like an interdisciplinary person that's a general strategy I kind of live with is I just try to like I try to like learn enough about a community that I can interact with them in a way that is comfortable for them, and then I don't feel I cannot I don't have the space in my heart to become an expert in that field. I just need to learn the language of that community enough that I can communicate with them effectively. Um, I'm getting distracted. Oh, second thing. So basic third-party integrations, is on there. Blender first, and then and then from there, as I described. And then the second question that Deadpool asked, the second implied question was real time, and that's here. That's these guys. There's the new alpha pipeline has like a proof of concept pipeline. Like I said, it's not if anybody here is new and you're like, hey, I want to use this software now, you you're welcome to follow the README. But the README has sort of it's changed flavor from the kind of like welcoming to like low to zero XP people like non-programmer, non-developers, into something that's a little more in line with like the expectations and standards of that software development community. Again, same exact everything I said about interacting with the animation community, same vibe about interaction with the software community. Like I'm new there, and Endurance is the one who is the sort of he speaks that language that is his language fluently, and so it's kind of written in that way. We're gonna clean it up and sort of like make more low to no XP routes, but especially now that we're sort of approaching a space where we will have like a standalone GUI that you can like go to freemocap.org and like click download and like cross-platform. Like we're like arguably we can already do that, but I'm just sort of like holding off and for strategic rollout reasons. There's going to be a little more of a separation in the vibe of the GitHub, because before the GitHub was the landing page for everyone. Like there's the website. Freemocap.org, and it's a lovely website. It's very proud of it. Worked with where is she? Taylor Davis designed this, and it is very nice. But this button, Get Free Mocap, should go to a download link, but it doesn't because we didn't have a download link, so it just goes to the GitHub. And so the kind of the old stuff. So what I was gonna say is like, if you want to like just get started with this and see what it's like now, and you don't want to like work through this workflow, go to this pre-alpha release, and then here's the source code, and then follow the instructions on this README, which is currently still in the thing as a it's like called old README, and then this is everything that has been up to now, and then we have yes. Yeah, Studio Galt, and you should have every right to do that, right? That's what we want. We want you to have, users. Well, the goal is to to build bridges between fields, but not like require people to cross them. Like if you're like, hey, I want mocap for animation purposes. I don't want to learn how to program. I don't want to learn biomechanics. I don't want to learn computational geometry. Good, you don't need to. Like we want to make something that you can use for you, exactly as you want to use it. But if you find yourself a couple a little way down the road, feeling like, maybe I do want to learn a little bit more about biomechanics. We want to make it easy for you to sort of like shift over and sort of like walk down like that bridge to sort of like help you sort of interact with that part of the world. But that's a larger vibe. Okay. Well, so JavaScript not even equaling Java, that's just straight up dumb from history. You can look up how dumb that is in history. Git and GitHub I don't mind as much because the underlying technology is Git, and Git is old. Git's been around forever. GitHub is just a website that is good for hosting Git repositories. So that's fair to me because GitHub and Git are sort of connected in the sense that Git is the thing, is the technology, and GitHub is a place that you can host Git repositories. There's also GitLab and Git, I think Bitbucket or something like that. But I think that's fair. It's interesting that GitHub is such a dominant website that people conflate the two things, but they are, yeah, yeah. Well, they're everything's a learning curve. Okay, let me think about what I want to spend my time. I want to go back. I'm going to go back and answer Blue Ocean. Does your platform recognize hand movement? Yes. Done. That was easy. We're mostly we're building this project to be like agnostic to the specific tracking algorithm. So what is this? What are you doing? Yeah, media pipe holistic. So like you'll be able to integrate yes, Deadpool. Yes. Hey Trent, could you drop a link to the could you drop an invite link to the Discord in the chat when you get a chance? Thanks. But yeah, so we have been focusing on using this media pipe holistic library to do the main tracking. It's a Google project. It's one of many types of tracking algorithms like this. Some of them are, they all have many different pros and cons and stuff like that. We've been using MediaPipe as the core tracking algorithm because it's clean code because it's from Google, so it's like a nice, easy to use repository. It's fast. It's hardware agnostic. Thanks, Marcus. Love that. Favorite thing in the world is when people answer questions for me. But then I still distract myself by thanking you. Yeah, it doesn't require an NVIDIA graphics card, which a lot of these things use CUDA, so they have to do that. So we've been using this, and it does track hands, and it does a decently good job. But we've just FYIing that we're not. This isn't like built into the bedrock of it. It's sort of designed like modularly. It's like at some point synchronized videos come in, and the MediaPipe tracks the skeleton in the individual images, and that gets sort of triangulated and spat out. And it's designed in such a way that like that black box that it's not really a black box. That box that MediaPipe sits in is basically anything that takes in video and spits out pixel coordinates can fit into that and sort of and reconstruct from there. You see some videos of me from the past that I'm like juggling and stuff like that, and those are using Deep Lab Cut. Facial capture is MediaPipe does do facial capture that you can see the tracking the face there. That is probably the least supported part of freemocap. We get the face data. It is triangulated. It is 3D reconstructed, but I haven't worked with it because I've been focusing on mostly the body and somewhat the hands. And the face it's kind of a different beast because it's deformable, whereas everything else is like rigid body. So I'm kind of like the data's there, but it's like underutilized. Okay, and let's see, one more catch up, and then I'm going to go back to the original task of like setting up the notes thing. Let's see, hand movement. Yes, Blender to Unreal. Good established process. Yeah, Studio Galt. Studio Galt is confirming. Yes, people confirming that. This is why Twitch is so good, is because it's people sort of confirming that the general strategy of let's just get our data into Blender, and then once it's into Blender, it will connect to all the things that Blender connects to. Ba ba da ba. Okay, so this exists. Now I go over here and I say import files from that stuff. This might be harder than I want it to be. Let's just do this, and if it needs to be ready to clean it up. Blue Ocean asks the big questions. What is the end goal for the platform in terms of user base? Yes, man. Well, uh, so actually, so real quick, let me, because I don't want to cover the screen, important parts of the screen. So I'm gonna make that. I'm gonna say do you pin on top? Oh, you are pinned on top, and I'm gonna put this to cover my camera, and so that will help. That'll give me a cue about when I'm blocking something in the screen. So. Studio Galt has good ideas. I like that idea. So there's a bit of there's the story of Skelly. Like Skelly, this is Skelly's origin story. So I'm a scientist. I'm a professor of neuroscience in Boston University, not Boston University, in Boston, Massachusetts, and I have studied human movement for a long time, and I've used motion capture for a long time. Since I've been using motion capture in VR since 2008, which is, for me, it's a long time for this tech. Scholar John Mathis. How does that work? I don't know. You can look at me. I am here. That's me. That's fine. Pandemic, what are you gonna do? And it's been a lot. So I study human movement, I study vision, I study visual control of movement in the natural world, and I've let's see, retinal flow. Is that gonna pop me up? Yeah, great. Nope, that's me. And so this is like some of the work from my dissertation days. And this is using an IMU suit, sort of equivalent to like a Rococo suit, and which is anyways. And so it's sort of like, I've been using this stuff for a while, and like I discovered like markerless motion capture, Open Pose, with the rest of the world when Open Pose, which is a group out of our Carnegie Mellon, produced. Oh, come on. Produced like to my knowledge, which is like the first like full body markerless tracking system in like 2017. They made this, and around that time I kind of had the idea. It's like, like you could use this for 3D motion capture, and they have a module that does that for them. The problem is that it's like super hard to use. Like if anyone has tried working through this README, like not user friendly, because it's not made for not for everyone. It's made like these are hardcore computer vision machine learning people, and they made a tool, and they have made it available, and they're giving it to other people within their community. That's the people that they're thinking about when they made this. Other computer vision machine learning people, and also anyone that wants to pay their like absurd licensing fees. That's why you see a lot of stuff that's kind of like the license is some version of this bullshit, which is like free for academic and non-commercial use, but if you want to use it to make money, like you have to pay us, or realistically pay my university, and like fuck that, because like, hey, you're publicly funded, you assholes. Like let the people who paid for your research use it for their uses. But I'm getting that's beside the point. And so it's kind of like it was an idea that I had for a long time, and kind of we didn't really work too hard on it because I've like trying to get like a job, in which I did. And then when the pandemic happened, like I started working on it more. It's passive, it's failing. No, you're fine, you're doing great. When was the last time y'all updated this? 4 months, 2 months? 2 months to fix the docs, examples. Okay, you're changing stuff, fixing typos. Yeah, so in the pandemic, I started like, I needed something to work on because I, lost access to my lab, and so I started working on something like this. Oh, this is not actually. How do I make you pin on top? I don't know. Anyway. Move AI. All I gotta say to Move AI is, Good luck with that business model. I got no beef with them. Let them do their thing. But what they're all I gotta say is they better be real cheap or real good, because I'm not stopping what I'm doing. Uh, and Yeah, basically just kind of like I was realizing that like as I was working with this and kind of like looking at like Blender and like getting really inspired by like the open source model and like especially like in the time of like like early pandemic, kind of like there's always like, oh my god, like George Floyd protests and like what the hell am I doing, and like power and privilege and how do I live my life, and kind of realized that like there really weren't good uh you know cheap to free options out there for like high quality motion capture for anyone. And so people in the sciences, we have access to high quality motion capture because we have like federal funds, and we can like I have like a $250,000 motion capture lab at my university, and so I have access to that kind of stuff. But like people who don't have those resources or anything close to those resources, they're out of luck, right? And so you got like Rococo, and like to their credit, Rococo I think is doing. I don't love their software pricing model, but like I think this is realistically like about as good as you can do to make like this inertial sensor type of suit. But like but it's still $5,000. It's cheap for motion capture, but it's $5,000, and it uses a fucking iPhone for your face capture. I started like censor. The dream started with me like censoring myself, and I don't fucking care. Um, and So and like realistically too, like IMU motion capture is a pain in the ass. Like I have used it. It's you don't want it. Like this is not the tool for the future. Uh, you can use it outside. You can use it over long distances. I do envision a future where we sort of integrate like Rococo with like this like sort of optical meaning like it's using cameras, motion capture. With this is markerless optical based, and this is sort of like the like related to like the traditional like marker based camera based sensors. And I imagine like a hybrid system will produce like very high quality results because IMUs, inertial systems, have very high precision but low accuracy because they drift. Whereas camera-based systems, especially like markerless systems, have high precision. Like the estimates are like oscillating around. Like if you're tracking my elbow, the marker-based system is going to be oscillating. It's going to have low precision. Did I say that? Whatever. Low precision, but high accuracy because it's going to be centered around the right answer. So if you take a system that has high precision, low accuracy, like a Rococo suit, and combine it with a system that has high accuracy, low precision, then your noise profiles are orthogonal to each other, and so you can combine them and get like a better result from the hybrid that you can get from either system. Future, we call that. That's the future. How do I make you float on top, you fucker? I don't know how to make that happen. What is this stupid thing called? Sticky notes? Okay. Sticky notes. Notes float on. Come on top. Click the floating window on the pull down menu to keep the. What pull down menu? Mac. Someday I will make these notes someday. Yeah, Studio Go. You got the right idea. Basically, like combining is good. But anyways, like to finish the story out though, is like I realized that like the tool that I was trying to make, I was originally trying to make this just as like a tool for myself to do my research in the absence of access to my lab, and then maybe sort of pitching it in the way of like the Carnegie Mellon did to like, hey, other scientists can also use this. And the plan originally was get it working with GoPros and then scale up to like research grade cameras, which are like more expensive and hardware triggered and like like couple hundred to a couple $1,000 a pop. And then once I sort of had that like realization, I was like following what's his name? Royal Skies Connect. I was like following this like Royal Skies tutorial on like how to use a Connect for motion capture. And the short answer is it sucks because a Connect is garbage, garbage and obsolete and whatever. And that's when I kind of realized it's like, oh wait, like the reason why they're using Connect is because they don't have other options. Like there's no cheaper options out there. And he has this whole thing like talking about like, Jesus Christ, like why don't we have other options? He's not saying it like that, but that's what he meant. And so I realized I was like, okay, well maybe I'll just like, instead of like scaling up from GoPro cameras, I'll scale down and see what is the cheapest possible system I can use. Create, make, like, and the answer is like these like $10 to $20 webcams and free software will do a decent job to you. Yeah, so that's kind of, and so to your original question, whatever iPhone. I don't. Also, what's the word? No dedicated hardware. That's one of the rules. There's a lot of dedicated hardware that would make this job easier, like depth cameras, the iPhone, LiDAR, Intel RealSense, what is it called, like Z Stereo, one of these things. But the problem with using any form of dedicated hardware, you are then beholden to that hardware. So, for example, a bunch of people out there when the Kinect came out, like used it and built it into a bunch of integrated tools and whatnot. And then, whoops, Microsoft says it's not profitable. They no longer make the Kinect, and then you're out of luck. Intel RealSense has sort of like announced end of life. Intel has announced end of life for the RealSense camera, and so anything you built that relies on that is out of luck. I mean, iPhone, whatever, they put the LiDAR into iPhone 12 or whatever the hell they're on now. But then what if they drop it from 14, and then you're reliant on finding old iPhones. Also, iPhones are expensive. So the plan, kind of like related to like the conversation around like Godot and Unreal and Unity, is focus on that core pipeline. Focus on like the arbitrary, cheap, cameras, USB-C compliant cameras, lowest cost, arbitrary, or agnostic about the specific hardware. Focus on that core pipeline of like, how do you synchronize videos? How do you calibrate videos? How do you calibrate cameras? How do you track skeletons? Whatever. And then once that core pipeline is set up, and we know how to create high quality recordings of human movement, then you can start to scale it out and sort of saying like people might say like, hey, I want to integrate it with the Rococo suit. Hey, I want to integrate it with the iPhone. Hey, I want to integrate it Studio Go. Yes, I have this method that I like for tracking faces, and I want to integrate it with your system. And we're happy to sort of help build those bridges and help make those integrations. Once the core pipeline has been built. And I think that there is a ton of possibilities for those kinds of integrations in the future. And that's a big part of the kind of like the move towards this kind of more like official, not official, like professional, architecture and structure of this project, is because when code is written to high standards and sort of written to make thanks, Deadpool. What was I saying? When code is written in the right kind of, like the previous code base, like the pre-alpha stuff, was written as good as I could do it, but I'm not a professional software developer. And what happened is it sort of experienced the things that happen with code bases like that, where it had this kind of like complexity bloat, and people would say things like, hey, I want to help work on this project for you, and it was just like, Jesus, man, like I don't have, this human doesn't have the energy available to like explain to you the weirdness of how our software works in order to allow you to like contribute to it. And so that's not a model that can build, and that's not a good basis for an open source project, because there's a limit in how people can help, because helping requires sort of like onboarding, because the software is sort of like designed in this kind of like sort of like, not, it's not spaghetti code it fully, but it's kind of like it commits some grievous sins that just make it hard. Like it's spectacular functional code base, written sort of most of the words were written by like my grad student Aaron Cherian, who did a great job. But and I've used it successfully for the past like 6 months, and that's like how I was able to like do all the demos and stuff that I was doing at these conferences, and sort of getting people excited about it and say, hey, look what we expert users can do with this. But realistically, for this project to become what I want it to become, which is like this large scale thing where like scientists and clinicians and animators and game designers can all sort of pull from the same well of high quality motion capture data produced by cheap agnostic hardware and software or whatever. It needs to be structured for that kind of growth. And so that's kind of the phase that we're going into now, sort of like really starting to really kind of trying to strengthen the connections, and sort of like strengthen the community that has been starting to grow around this project. Marcus and Galt and Blue Ocean I've seen around too. Like the folks who kind of like who've been around, been following, the people who are in the Discord. Trent, did you ever drop the Discord invite link? I'm not sure. He may not be here. I think he said he was going to walk his dog, so whatever. But yeah, so it's really trying to kind of like knit that community together. Invite link. And in order to build something that can grow, because like I cannot be the bottleneck. If I am the bottleneck, it's gonna die. And so in the sort of the time that because that which is a common fate for a lot of open source projects I've discovered, is some person makes the thing, and they don't set things up ahead of time to grow. That's the Discord link. That's kind of the main like community space for freemocap. But yeah, so the creator of a project will create it in such a way that like it's good and people like it, but then as it grows, everything has to sort of go through them. And so you get this sort of vicious cycle where as the project becomes bigger and more successful, it becomes more and more effortful to maintain and support and develop and things like that for that core maintainer. There's apparently the word that they use for themselves, so I guess that's me now. And so thinking ahead and sort of trying to like be honest with myself about what my capacities are, I'm really trying to focus on like developing the structure of the project such that it can have this more distributed, decentralized vibe, and so it can ideally pick up kind of like a life of its own. And like my like soft goals. So I made the freemocap Foundation, which is like the organization around it. We're tax exempt, federal tax exempt status pending. So if you want to make a donation, and as long as we get that, apparently as long as you get it within 26 months of incorporation, donations are like grandfathered in as tax exempt. I don't know how that works, but anyways, it's on the website. You can find it, but don't. But what was I saying? Just trying to basically trying to like structure the project and bringing in the expert, bringing in Endurance, the expert sort of person here, to help me set up the architecture of both the software and just the project, that it can have that kind of longer lifespan. Oh, another thing too is when I signed up for that, like it's a pretty minimal org right now, and when you start, you need, for a nonprofit, you need to have like some core people, like the director, clerk, and treasurer, and then the board just needs to be one person, and that one person currently is me. And I think the rules are that you can only be on the board for like 5 years at a time, and so my goal is that within 5 years I can step down from that board position, and there will be some new board of people who can sort of like manage the project, and I can kind of step back from it. So I'm happy to sort of be that point person, that central person, as necessary for about 5 years. But realistically, that's even that would be too with done if the done correctly. I'm pretty sure I can keep this going for that long, assuming I can get funding for it, which I think I can. We'll see. Uh, but yeah, that's long term. Long term thinking. That's kind of where my thinking is now. That I like to think on these sort of like thinking like my preferred time scales for planning are 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. Uh, 6 months is like immediate plans. 1 year is two of those. 2 years is two of those, and 2 years is like you can kind of guess where things are going to go, and you can kind of like do like, oh, if things go well, we'll be here. If things go bad, we'll be there. But it's far enough. But it's sort of. But in 5 years is more vibe. You don't know where you're going to be in 5 years, but you can kind of guess, and it becomes more vague, and it's more this kind of like this more vague thoughts like the ones I shared. It's like I want Free Mocap to be a self-sustaining project within 5 years, kind of thing. And then 10 years is just kind of it's just daydreaming. You don't know. You can never know what's going to happen in 10 years. So you kind of like so, and that's kind of so like I'm thinking on that 5 year cycle of like I want this to be a self-supporting project within 5 years, so that in 10 years I can be chilling. And sort of hopefully by that point I will have sort of figured something out where I can keep kind of a sort of a less stressful position within the project that will still support me in my ability to like eat food and not die. Sort of like things like that. That's my actual my funding dreams. Like whatever money may or may not be associated with this project. And it's a free. The core software is free software, but there's so many spin-off possibilities that like, who knows. My desire is to have. I want to have 10 years of planning. I know, right? This in America, right? It's nasty. I want to be able to plan 10 years ahead. That's what I like. That's all the money I want in my life is the ability to look from here to 10 years from now and say like, yeah, I'm settled. I'm set. I am set, and the people who rely on me are set because I pay people salaries, and it stresses me out when I can't guarantee them stability more than a year or two out or a couple of years out, which is kind of how the academic model works. Anyway, yeah. So there's this contribution guideline, right? It's fresh, and it's sort of and this explains how you can contribute to this, and like how to write a bug report, and like things have this kind of things automated. We don't have a passing thing yet, but like we have like actions that like do like verify and automatically verify things. Yada yada. This is the stuff that Endurance has been helping me set up. Work in progress, very fresh, but exciting because yeah. Someone asked a question about a word I hadn't seen before. What was it? Byte dance. I don't know what byte dance is. Inspire creativity, technology, inform, educate. Oh, see, this is why it looks like a Chinese company. Is that Hong Kong? Is this? Interesting. I don't know what these are. I will put this into advisement. Who are you? What is your deal? What is your mission? Okay, see, this is not accurate. This is not accurate, but it's a little. I could use more information, friends. Someone also said, ByteDance or Instagram. Oh, are these they're like an accelerator or something? Tech for good. Tech for good, but we make TikTok. Work nonprofit to provide tools and guidance to raise awareness. I like TikTok a lot, for the record. They have there's ethical concerns about the structure of the platform, but I think the function of the platform is like a fascinating evolution in the way that humans communicate with each other. But they steal all of your data, and they're hacking your dopamine system for profit. So fuck them. I like the mechanism. I like the technology. But fuck the company. I'll look into this. I don't know. There's a couple. So like you got your God, what are these people called? What are they called? They handle matplotlib and numpy, and they fiscally sponsor them, and they are called numfocus. I looked into these guys originally. They're kind of, I think it's probably a similar vibe, where it's kind of like, oh, I've already applied for an Epic Mega Grant. I've got a little bit of a conversation going with those guys, and I originally was going to send them an application, sort of similar to like the kinds I submit to the NIH, which is like, hey, I need like $500,000 to run a lab for like 6 years. Woo! Yeah, the YouTube freemocap. Actually, this is freemocap. What? Come on. My videos. It's mostly. This is freemocap. Yeah. So this video that I'm going to share in a second was made as part of that Epic Mega Grant. This is the one. This is the link that I actually sent them. Don't tell them, but I secretly said it as an unlisted one because it means I can check how many times they've watched it. This was last time I checked. This was 5, and so it's 8 now. So, but I'll share this. This was made. This is a fun video. I think this is also pinned to the top of my Twitter, which is here. But this is also a good like way to catch the vibe of the project. But yeah, so these guys do the numfocus does like fiscal sponsorship and stuff like that for like a ton of these like huge like open science projects like NumPy, Matplotlib, Jupyter, Pandas, yada yada. And they basically do what I'm guessing ByteDance does, which is like, hey, we'll handle a lot of stuff for you. Like we'll do your, we'll do your taxes and we'll do your payroll and whatnot. And I contacted them just kind of see what their deal was, and to be honest, it was chill. I like them, but I asked a question that they could not answer, and it makes me really squeaked out. The question I asked them was, what is the offboarding process? What happens if I join this consortium and then later I decide I don't want to be a part of this anymore? What's the process for leaving? And the person I was talking to had no answer for me on that. And she's like, oh, I'll check. Let me check on that. And I sent her an email late, and she didn't. And I sent her an email, and she didn't. And I sent her another email later, and then she didn't. And so this is the email sent over the course of like a couple of months. Never got an answer for what the process is for leaving numfocus. So I don't trust fucking anyone. Sorry, I hate this thing. How do you make it go away? Really? Yeah. Don't trust anyone. Don't trust me, by the way, because you don't know me. It's a parasocial relationship. I'm gonna do my best to do right by you, but you don't know that. Like, so steal all the code. Fork it. Be ready. Yep. Studio Cult's not your real name. Ooh, are you secrets? Maybe you're someone I know. If you are, hello. No, this is the kind of thing, right? And like, if you're dealing with a for-profit company, they're allowed to lie to you. They're allowed to keep secrets. They're allowed to try to do tricksy stuff. These guys are, I think they're a nonprofit, but they're just, I don't know. I don't trust anyone. But you can trust. I think you can trust individual humans, but you should never trust an organization, because organizations are not humans. They are hive minds, and they have volitions and desires and needs that may not be coextensive with any individual humans. Trust primates. Yeah, yeah, right. Lawyers, they do. I've been thinking a lot about how so code is like magic words that computers can speak, and they have power in like old school D&D sense. Like if you do it right, then you can do things can happen. Law is like another form of like weird words of power, where like the words on the paper can like kill people. It's like Jesus. Anyway, um, bum. Let me do what I was gonna do originally. Okay. Let's see. 2022-07-19. Oh, let me share this thing with y'all. Okay. View mode. Read everyone. Write signed in users. Nope. Owners. More. Permission. Commenting. Permission everyone. Great. Okay, read everyone, write owners, view mode, edit mode. So you can see who is someone on here likes to say like you can see how the sausage gets made. I love that phrase. Okay, now I'm going to share this with you. Oof, bureaucracy. Bureaucracy is necessary to some extent, but there's another great term I've heard called the bureaucracy ratchet, which is a problem where if you have an organization, am I sharing anything I don't want to? I'm not. I'm going to share this with you. Oh, am I? Fill in username for a shorter link. Interesting. Do that later. Here you go. Doink. So I think you should be able to see that. You can join that, or you can just watch me type on it. There's no need. Nothing. But yeah, the bureaucracy ratchet is this idea that like if you have an organization, the effort involved in adding a complexity to the bureaucratic system that you're a part of is the effort to add complexity and bureaucracy is much lower than the effort to remove complexity. So like, you have a group and it's like, oh, we need someone to handle these forms. So you hire that person. That's a new like bit of complexity. And then now you've made a job for someone. You don't want to remove that job, and also you build like systems that rely on that form. And then when it gets big enough, like, oh shoot, we need something now. There's like 3 kinds of this form, so we need another form to make sure that those forms are properly filed. And so bureaucracy keeps getting added, but there's not as much of and it's easy to add new stuff, but it's hard to remove it. So over time, like that's basically what's like the work at a university is like a system that has just like or like the federal government, like the bureaucracy keeps getting added and added and added, or any company really. And so and you just got, it's this ratchet where it just gets ever more complex and it never gets simpler. Code is the same way, which is why often like the best way to refactor is just refactor from scratch. Like don't try to fix the old version, just make a new version, because the old version is probably doing a job, and so let the old version of the thing do that job, and don't try to don't try to remove the complexity. It's too hard. Tenure is actually an interesting thing. It doesn't mean when people think it means. It doesn't mean you can't fire someone. What tenure means is that your contract does not expire. That's all that it means. It means you cannot be fired without cause. So I am tenure track, which means my contract is temporary. It's got a timeline on it. and they don't have to fire me because they can just not renew my contract. Whereas if I were to get tenure, I would sign a new contract. I would go from being an assistant professor to an associate professor, and the main difference in those two contracts is just that there's no end date on the associate professor. You can fire me easily. You just have to prove that I've done a fireable offense, or they always have the option of just saying you no longer fit the mission of the university. You no longer fit the needs of the university, which is they can just do that whenever. But it doesn't actually mean that you can't be fired. It just means that you can't be fired without cause. Or like you can't be fired without cause. They can just decide that your position isn't needed and then just kick you out the door. But it's otherwise known as like that's the position that's most contracts with most companies are like tenure like in the sense that they don't have expiration dates. It's just that companies are much more likely to find some cause to fire you. It's just part of that culture. Anyway, Twitch notes. Okay. Hooray. I did this. Lol. So, done that. Let's see. And now I want to see if I can connect it to GitHub. Versions in GitHub sync. Push to GitHub. Okay, line breaks in this note are rendered differently from those on GitHub. To keep the note rendered, please switch the line rendering break rule. Yeah, okay. I knew this. This is like a new line thing. Can I do this? Nope. Okay, I have to do author. I'm going to do this on a different screen for just in case I expose something I didn't mean to expose. freemocap. This is the thing. So you can, when you're connecting HackMD to repository, you can do it at the user level. So just like all repositories. So like the thing is like all repositories in the freemocap organization, or only selected repositories. Realistically, I probably want to do this one, but because I don't trust these people, I'm going to do this one, and then only pick that one I just made. And okay, this one I'm going to go over here. You've seen how many dots are in my password. Oh no. Okay. See, this is a danger button, right? Like you don't want to show this one on screen. Beta testing, API documentation. I don't think we need that. Did we do it? You have 12 notes. Backup. What's going on? My notes. Where's the one I just made? Where's the one I just made? It's here. Luckily, I'd given y'all the link. There's 3 people here. Hello, 3 people. Did I miss a question from somebody? If I missed a question, please re-ask it. Okay. Push to GitHub. Select repo. That's the one. Ooh, select the branch. Put it on main. Select the file. Select or create a markdown file. Interesting. Create a markdown file. Let's call this Twitch. Really, I should be calling it live. Yeah, create a new file. Sick. This is my first time doing this mechanism, and I'm into it. Choose versions to publish, current note, and I have to name the commit. Initial commit from 2022 -07-19 Twitch stream. Hello, the future. Let's, in case anyone ever looks at the future. My plan is I want to keep this note like alive, and then that way next time I want to do like a stream or something like that, I could just open. I don't have to make a new thing. I just open this one and add a new line. And then you have like a running list, and it's all like synced and backed up, which is just nice. It's a nice record. It's in the public. Like anybody can see it. Anyone can comment on it, so you can come back later and be like, oh, like you wrote this thing, but I'm curious about that. And you can add a comment to it, I think. I don't know. We'll see. Available push count unlimited. Oh, I paid for it. That's cool. Push. Push. Successfully. Add a badge. Yeah. Cool. Loving this. I like this. HackMD. New best friend. I hope. Don't break my heart, y'all. I have to push again. Push. Initial commit. Wait, what? Choose version to push. What? Oh, that's interesting. Add badge. I think I don't know what just happened. I think it didn't push in the way that I thought it would. Interesting. Oh, oh, and you can compare with previous versions. Okay. Okay, so now here's the question. So version named by blah, 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 blah. GitHub link settings. There you are. Is there like a clickable link on here? I want there to be. Successfully linked to GitHub. You can push further changes of the GitHub version. Change your line blank rendering rule at breaks under the editing session. Yeah, I know. Common mark. It is common mark. This is the thing, if anyone has used Markdown, the sort of like the annoying thing where sometimes it doesn't notice that you've put a new line, because there's like different ways of handling new lines, like, and sometimes it doesn't notice. You have I think Reddit's flavor of Markdown is like this, where like you have to have two spaces, like it needs to be a new line and a new line for it to notice. Otherwise, it just treats it as a space. Okay, HackMD, view. Oh, look at that. Like it. Subscribed. Published. Expand all. 0 comments. Someone want to like put a comment on something just so I can see what that looks like? I would appreciate it if you did. Collaborate. So, and I guess this tag will go there. Obviously I can go to the GitHub, but I'm trying to see if there's a way to link, if I can get to the GitHub from here easily. There probably is. Thanks, Studio Galt. I'm just going to call you Galt. Okay, whatever makes sense at the time. I don't know. Oh, hey, what up, Endurance? Hey. Where's the thing? Where's the thing? This is versions of GitHub sync. I should, come on, man. There we go. Okay. Yeah, so there's no tag on this. Also, I want you to be in a folder, but I'll worry about that later. Okay, this has been changed. Now I'm going to push you. Choose version to push. Like, what do you mean? Choose version to push? I am confused. Here's another comment. Save, which is not a real thing. I always just, Control S always happens. Create, help, that. Da 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 bum. Here's another comment. Compare with previous. Push. So what are you talking about? Choose version to push. Initial commit. I think. Current note content. Ah. I see. This is a commit log. And so I was on this one, which was the initial commit. This is the current note state. and this shows what the commit will be, including the diff, which the diff is like the difference, right? It's like you got the stuff that has been added in green and stuff that has been removed in red. Now, you may be thinking, if you are me, red green as a color, red green as a color distinction, that's bad. That's not colorblind friendly, especially like this shade, like sort of like light green and light red. That's like colorblind people will not be able to see those colors. It's awkward because people with color, like normal color vision, red green is like such a great color distinction. It's like one of the most salient ones that we have. So people tend to pick red green, and also like society picked red green for like street lights and stuff like that. But like 10+% of the population is colorblind, so you don't want to do that. So the choice that appears to have been made at some deeper level here was to keep the red green distinction, or more realistically, not notice it or not care about it. Which would be like a grievous sin, but they also have done something where they have two mechanisms for showing the difference between things that have been added in green and things that have been removed in red, plus strike through. So they have strike through for the removed stuff, so people who can't see the colors will still be able to see the strike through. I think it'd be kinder to just shift the colors to something that's not red green, but that's good. Cool. Okay. 1 second to this. Save a new version and push. Oh, that's interesting. Here's another commit. Push. I'm gonna check on your comment just 1 second once I'm done with this. Push, and whoop. Hey, cool. So that works. And here's that. And then the next game would be to pull this onto my desktop and then look at that. But I don't want to do that right now. So, where is your comment? Where did you add it? I'm not seeing it. On the general project. Oh, like on the GitHub? I'm gonna comment on this, but I'm curious if you put something on the I would also be interested in how that works on GitHub. GitHub is I won't say that GitHub is bad at giving notifications about stuff. It's just not. I see. That's cool. Oh, cool. Test comment. Yay. I do appreciate that. I was asking more for a comment on this note, just to see what that looks like. Because I think, that's part of the permissions is like, y'all can't read and write, but you should be able to comment on things. So like, here's an unclear thing I wrote. I think that you should be able, so you can comment like that. I meant more like commenting on, so like if you click on the link, the HackMD link, and then select a thing, and then do comment and like, hi, get a comment. Resolve. Interesting. Cool. Yeah, I was curious to see like what it would look like. First of all, I wanted to check that you have the permission to do that, and I wanted to see what it would look like from my end to get that. I'm not doing the thing I said I was going to do, which was to do like a work log for Blender stuff. I'm just going to do that real quick because I am running out of time, meaning I'm tired of being here. I'm running out of energy. And I usually try to keep these things to like 2 hours because that's it's interesting. It's like right around like an hour just blows by because I have so many things to say, and I'm so happy to share them with you. And then like about like an hour and a half in, I'm like, wait, how long have I been here? And then I'm like, oh, I'm gonna be done in 2 hours. Okay. Um, uh, this is a running list of notes from Twitch streams. Twitch. Twitch. Yeah. https twitch.tv/freemocap. Cool. And I do line, ta. And I go dum. And then I say, I'm going to make this second header. Joink. Haha. I think, I wish that the distinction between the header levels was more like salient. Like I wish they changed colors or something like that. I think you can do that with like CSS or something, but not right now. Ba ba da bum bum. Ba. Lol. And then third header. Doink doink doink. Only the owner can leave notes. Yes. See, that's. Oh, not notes, comments. So, like, here's what I want you to try. It's like go to the link, like the link up here. I'll resend it. I'll reload it, or I'll resend it. Yeah, resend it. There it is. Go to that link, and then select something, some piece of text. Click comment and be like, "Hi, add a comment" or something, and then send that. I want to see what that looks like. If you would not mind. Okay. Slap dash slash work list of Blender stuff. Actually, let's try this. I'm gonna create a new list. That's what the fuck I'm talking about. Slap. Yeah, I'm gonna call that slap dash work list. Am I gonna do that? Yes, I am gonna do that. I'm gonna say it's not gonna be slapdash though, because I can edit this. When I want to do that, sure. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna do that later. That's adding complexity. Simple pimple first. That's a rule. Don't like I'm doing something that I haven't done before, which is like using this mechanism to add notes. And so the first time I do it, I should try to do it in the simplest possible way, and I shouldn't do what I was about to do, which is try to do two complicated things at once. It says you can't add a thanks Studio Golf. That's exactly the problem that I was trying to find. I'll check that in a second. So what I often do is the dumb thing, which is like I'm trying something for the first time, and instead of doing the simple version of that thing, I find some piece of added complexity. So what I almost just did was I'm trying to like add this note with this connection, which I'm already kind of like fiddling with and trying to figure out, like the permissions thing, for example. And then I almost just said, why don't I also try to make a new note and have that be also committed? No, you say, no. Simple pimple first. You shot that into the void. Because the simplest version of the thing I'm doing is to just fucking do the thing that I said I was going to do. Studio Go. Permission. Come in. It should be everybody. It says invitee. Sharing. Username. Edit. Preview. This is your... I don't know if that's your clever mechanism to get me to show my feed every time, but if it is, clever. Good to see you too. How you doing, Mycon? I've been talking a lot of... There's been a lot of big changes over here. Big changes. There's no time. Let me catch you up to speed. No, there's no time. Let me sum up. We're doing stuff. A lot of stuff. Yeah, big changes. We're sort of. I think we may have like officially shifted into like alpha phase of this. We don't have like the new version of this, but like we froze the pre-alpha, put it into a release, and Endurance, who is sneaking around in here, has been like helping to like do some like core level reorganization, restructuring, re-architecting, to let us scan. Thanks to you, Galt. That's perfect. God, this is great. I love when people just, it's like, people help, and it's like, oh, it's amazing. I am going to, I'm going to tag the thing that it mentally tag the thing you did as like, okay, apparently I don't know how commenting works on this thing, and and with that tag, I feel complete in this current exploration. But yeah, Mycon, go check out the GitHub if you're curious about the vibe. It's still in kind of like part in our dust phase, but yeah, fun things are brewing. Slapdash work list of Blender stuff. Agree. What do we even need to do? I'm just gonna do this work list notes. The reason why I was so excited about this mechanism, for a lot of reasons I'm excited about this, but one of them is that like I have a lot of meetings with students and stuff like that, and it's kind of like it's like I want notes to be taken because I forget everything the second I say it. It's like been hard to find a good way to make that happen, because it's like I'll ask someone. Trent unfortunately has experienced this many times, and I apologize in retrospect and prospect for it. I'll be like, hey Trent, can you take some notes? And he takes notes, but they're not the notes that I wanted. So I'm like, you're doing it wrong. And it's like, and then it's like that's not helpful to anyone. And so it's like, okay, someone else take notes for me. It's like, oh no, you're not taking the notes that I wanted to take. So like that's not serving like what it needed to serve like for my brain. Okay, so I'll take notes. Oh, but then there's like these weird, awkward, like momentum breaking pauses while I'm typing the notes and you can't see it. It's like, oh, okay, well let's use Google Docs, and it's like, okay, yeah, but now we're bringing fucking like Google into this, and like we're trying to be like cool open source, like free software, like them types. And so I just always felt like I use Google Docs and it's good, but I just never really liked it. And it's sort of breaking one of like the sort of like soft rules of the lab, which is like try to do everything in Markdown, everything on Git, just like learn these mechanisms, so that you can once you and so with the live collaboration, like right now I'm streaming so you can watch me type, but like what I can do is in like a meeting, like a small group meeting or a lab meeting, I can put that link up there. I can sort of confirm with the numbers online that everyone's at least viewing it, or at least pretending to view it. If they're not, that's on them. Cool. It always blows, responding to Mycon, it always blows my mind when I go back to these things and it's like there's like 100 views, and it's like that's like a 2-hour live stream. Like, who's watching this? Is it all bots and crawlers, or is it real humans watching these things? That's one of my my sort of like it fills my heart, because as I'm like overwhelmed and like sort of like there's too much going on, like there's always these like little subtle indications that like people are following, people are watching, people are excited, and it's great. You are right. I think that like we're close to like a little like, I don't usually use the term AI, but like I think this is a good use for it, like little AI assistants that use like voice to text kind of in natural language processing to basically to automate the stuff that like really should be automated, and there's already pretty good bots out there. You'll see these on like Reddit. There's like summary bots that like it's like a link to an article, and then the bot is like, I summarized this article. And like with like the large language models, like your GPT-3 style machine learning algorithms, like we're getting pretty good at that style of thing, that I expect within the next like easily next 5 years there will be a workflow where there's something like this, and it's some machine learning sort of network trained thing, that's summarizing the words that I'm saying, in the way of like a traditional like old school like human admin person, and then undoubtedly it'll be the kind of thing where like Trent, I'm like, hey Trent, take notes, and he's like, you're not taking notes in the way that I wanted you to. You'll be able to give feedback, and then the machine learning algorithm will learn your preferences, and then who's it from, what's it from that. Arguably, I mean, like honestly, like if I were to apply like free mocap level effort to making that, I could the global we those tools are on the table. Yeah, yeah. Dolly. But see, these are these things, right? Like as these tools, these mechanisms, these methodologies are emerging. Like, who owns them? Who's controlling them? Megacorps, like OpenAI, is not open. It's fucking, So you have these, MediaPipe, like Google's being like nice and like sharing their code or whatever, but they don't have to, and they could pull it off the market tomorrow, and they love to do that shit. Google loves to like say, hey, here's a free thing, user test it for us, and the second it gets good enough, yank, pay. Fuck you, not you, Google. But then you have people like Hugging Face who are like actually trying to come back, or like I don't really know all the details of them, but they're like trying to like democratize stuff, and they're saying, yeah, well, Google Glasses didn't work. That was an example of they promised more than they could deliver. As someone who has been working with eye tracking for a long time, they underestimated how hard eye tracking is. They're like, we're going to build a whole user interface based on eye tracking. It's like, you don't understand how eye tracking works mechanically, and you don't understand how eye movements work neurophysiologically. Well, and they promised the world, and they released too early, and it's a cool idea that's like fun sci-fi, and it just never worked the way it was supposed to. And if you and there were yeah, but it is what they're doing with GitHub Copilot. GitHub Copilot, they either already have or they've announced that they're gonna yoink it and make it paid, because basically the whole, like, all the software developers who are using it and being like, wow, this is so cool, we're just doing user testing for fucking Google. Like, Google, you fucking need us to work for you for free? Fuck you. We built your company with our user data. Go to hell. They're listening, and they can go to hell. Pricing. What's your pricing model? Yeah. Aggressively open source. Anyway. What was I doing? I was going to take some Blender notes. Too many of these. Stressing me out. Goodbye. Hello. Let's see. All right, I'm just gonna try to put something on paper. Yeah. To be clear, I don't hold beef with individual people who don't want to share their work, who don't want to use free site licenses. There are a lot of advantages to doing like keeping stuff proprietary and trying to sell it. We are forced into this world of pure competition, where the basic premise of our society is we're happy to let you die. If they contribute, or we, like, literally in America, I don't know if many of you are in America, that's literally what we say to people on the street. Like, fuck you, die. Like, you haven't contributed enough. And so given that, like, I'm happy with the help with the open licenses. Ask on the server. I'm happy to help with that. But I wouldn't hold beef with you if you were trying to, like, sell something. Because when you're trying to sell something, it opens up a lot of opportunities. It's a lot of freedom for you. That thing, yeah, fuck suck. Like the thing about, whatever, like, yeah, and like people, you have every right to do whatever you need to do to support yourself and try to find stability in this world. I think that I'm trying to approach it like this model of development where it's like, I think that there's a model where if you put it in enough hands and share it with enough people, you'll be able to find stability and support from that. Which I'm taking inspiration from the Blenders and the Linuxes and whatnot. But I'm speaking from a place of quite a lot of privilege and quite a lot of resources. I am working at a university. I have a paycheck. I have federal funding for my lab. So so 2 points in that. One is I'm federally funded. I'm funded with public money, so I feel an obligation to give back in that way because I'm being funded by people, by the people, and I feel like the people should be able to access and use and take advantage of their own. I am also being driven by like a moral sensibility of like, hey, this is how my morality says that I should act, even though it's harder in many ways. There's also just like a practical sense that I think that the free mocap model of free everything is superior, is because like I don't want to compete with Move AI. I don't want to compete with like Hinge Health. Let them do their fucking capitalist thing. I'm gonna do the free software thing, and I don't have to worry about them. Basic premise, basic rules. When I encounter a project that's sort of aligned, that's doing similar stuff to the free mocap, if it's free, open source, we join forces. If it's proprietary, closed source, we ignore it. Easy. Speaking of joining forces, yeah, Micon. Actually, I'm gonna do this real quick before I get back to that. I'm gonna put this on here. Something CG Tinkers blend our mocap add-on, specifically the free mocap. Oh, I appear to be writing this whole method, this whole comment, so this is nice. This is welcome to how an ADHD brain works. I started, which means I can't stop. Branch. Why do you like that? Why are you bold? Don't be bold. Start writing? Okay, there we go. Need to clean up so it, like works and stuff. Currently, some buggos with the hands and I think the feet. Need use lessons learned there to automate standard free mocap blender output. So outputted blend is compatible with Rigify. Rigify's the standard human meta rig, something Paolo Campora's what's it called? I forget the name of his thing. Add-on that connects Rigify stuff to Mixamo et al. I think. I think the buggos with the blend are read in are fixable, but also those are would also kinda arise from the current everything all data in a giant 3-dimensional NumPy array. So I think maybe we should, I think maybe rather than fixing those buggos directly, we should tweak the alter and update the data output format to avoid those kinds of easy to make mistakes, and also be consistent with pandas data frames lead to human readable CSVs, and CSVs which will fit in nicely with what's that guy's name, like rolled doll, tidy mocap R package linked to in server. Okay, I'm done writing that for now. Make human. Thanks, Studio Galt. Nice to see you. Thanks for the help, and see you around. Make human. I think make human, that's an Unreal thing, right? Is it? Oh, no. Oh, someone in the, oh, yeah. Someone in the server was using this. Someone used this for something. Oh, someone used this to kind of like unfuck our output a little bit. Oh, see, look, I'm blocking the screen. Let's do this. It's easier. Yes. Excellent. Someone in the server connected our current Blender output to a make human, and it's in the, I think it's in the freemocap discussion. I think if you just like do a search for make human, you might find it. It was one of those things like that person was working. They were working on it, like it was like a really fun like thing to watch, because it was like a couple people on the server, like different animators, like chatting. Oh, thanks, Macon. That's the one I was looking for. What's your license, friend? Okay, I'll have to read this later. I want to make sure, like, so there was people like talking about like how to work with the output, and someone, and like, you know, like, oh, here's these problems. Like, that's like the stuff I was talking about earlier. That was like helpful for me to see. And oh, someone managed to like take the current data and like connect it to make human. It was like, oh, hey, I got something working out of this. And I was like, unfortunately, like that conversation was happening at a time when I was in like crunch mode preparing for a conference, so I couldn't put much brain energy into it. But I was happy to see it, and I like kept thinking I should go back to it, and you have now reminded me of it, and thank you. Oh, MetaHuman. MetaHuman's the Unreal one. So I will avoid the nudity. And let's see, something. I think I'm in general probably gonna wanna use a dictionary like format or data class that separates data from the body hands and face, because I think many buggos have arisen from mistakes in indexing into the giant everything NumPy array to pull out, to try to pull out, say, the left hand data. The main buggo in the blend R integration is that the hands are flipped. Is that one hand is flipped and the other isn't tracked at all, kind of. Associative arrays. I don't know what associative array is. I'm a little bit. Also, we should be checking out / using make human. Human says. Oh yeah. Dictionary like. Yeah. There's. I think there's option. Was that? Yeah. Says Marcus. Says Marcus. Marcus Llewellyn. Marcus, do you mind if I put your name on here? This is a public facing thing. I don't want to. I think it's like a challenge. Like I like to give you, like, you said it, so I want to like note that you said it, but also I don't want to like put your name in a public document. Says. Cool. Says Marcus Llewellyn. That's right. There's a lot of L's in there. Marcus Lula. There's a W. Lou. L. I'm sure you get that a lot. I think I got that close enough. And also someone on the Discord server already did it. Did something like this. I think his name was Nordic Viking. I think it was Nordic Viking or something in response to maybe Vandlo. Notes. Oh, there was something I was gonna type. Yeah, no, it's fine. And I'm guessing that they're chill, license-wise. I just want to make sure that they don't do. There's not. I picked up on the Welshness of it. I am half Syrian. My mom is from Syria, and my dad is like a Welsh Irish Texan something or another. So my last name Mathis with 2 T's is a very uncommon spelling, and we don't like have records on my dad's side of the family very well, but the only place I've been able to see like any sort of Mathis with 2 T's, the only record I can find of that spelling of a name is like Welsh. So I have some Welsh in me too. So I wish I could say like hi in Welsh, but I can't. So I'll just say hi in English, which is fine. Yeah, the license is probably chill. I just want to make sure that there's not some dumb thing in there of like you can't make money off the assets or something like that. I'm almost certain that's not the case. But anytime I go and I see license and it's like view license, it's like, all right, what bullshit did you write in here? Because if it's not like a standard license, then it's something else. So it's probably chill. They appear to be based off the GNU Affero AGPL, which is ours. Like that's the one, like the most aggressively open source license available. And then they just have some other fuckery around something or other. It's probably, it is the opinion to make that no output contains a trace of program logic. Okay, that's fair. Regardless of whether you use the UI or the script, what gets. Okay, there we go. Assets have been released. There we go. Great. So you can do whatever you want with it. They have some. Actually, I might want to use these guys as inspiration because there's a similar kind of question mark around. I mean, there's not a question mark, but there's a lack of specificity about the output from freemocap, like who owns that data, and obviously we don't, but there's some. Oh, that's what I was gonna do. There's a lot of interesting ethics that pop up around this, and we want to really make sure that we get out in front of that. My favorite example of people who are not doing it right is face swap. This is your classic deep fake platform, and it's a pretty cool tool to do face swapping and like deep fakes or whatever. But like, man, ethics. Like we already know it has already been used. Like on the record, someone used this to make revenge porn of another person who was not, like, they found like pornography, took like it was like some fucking crazy story. Like it was like the mom of a cheerleader used something like this to make fake pornography of the rival teenager of the daughter, and then released it, and like, yikes. And then like it's, like the fake news shit, like this, yeah. But there's this kind of like, there's a lot of ways that this tool kind of like resembles a lot of the things that I've been saying about free mocap. It's like, oh, this is a tool, like this is a technology that's available for people. This can be done, and so let's make it accessible to everybody. But like the ethical concerns here are so massive, and like, and so like they have something, and they say like, oh yeah, we have ethical issues here, but it just doesn't feel, it feels a little toothless. Like it's kind of like their thing is like, hey, don't do bad stuff with this. And like, I don't know, man, we are troubled. It's like, they're trying to do their best. And like, I don't, like they're saying we are very troubled by the fact that face off can be used for unethical and disreputable things. However, we support the development of tools that can be used ethical. And so it's challenges. Free mocap is not as ethically fraught as deep fakes are, but like you can imagine, like like the ability to accurately record three-dimensional human movement with cheap, low-cost free software, low-cost arbitrary cameras and low-cost software. It's a powerful tool. It's a very powerful tool, and every powerful tool has, every sword has two edges, right? Everything that you can use for good, you can also use for bad. That's what tools are. And so for everyone who we're talking about, for everything I want to talk about, like, oh, we can use it for scientific research, you can use it to build your game, you can make animation, you can use it for like medical research, you can use it for education, you can use it to democratize science, you can use it to do development, like all the good things. There's another list. There's like the dark uses of it, right? Like Amazon can use it to like monitor their workers and like dock their pay if they like stop working. Marketing people are already like, this is like not free mocap, but like other like sort of secret proprietary like person tracking algorithms are already being used and deployed by marketers. They use like the security cameras from grocery stores and track people and say like, oh, like I looked at the advertisement for this long, and then I walked over and bought apples, and like they're already using that data. That those implementations already exist. So Um, I forget the whole why, but the whole it's complicated, and we want to be and like so part of free mocap is like make it available to people, make it accessible to people, um, in large part because both for the good the white hat uses of it. Um, yeah, no, yeah, yeah, a lot of snake oil stuff, right? Like, um, the job interview stuff. There's a great documentary called I called Coded Bias, it's on Netflix, and it's like, it's like stuff like a lot of AI tools are used unethically, for mostly because people they don't understand them. Um, so it's like, hey, here's train a neural network to evaluate. This is a real story. Train a neural network to evaluate which of these applications for this tech job are likely to succeed. Um, how do you do that? Well, you look at the previous applications and you see who was successful, and you find applications that match those parameters. Oh, wow, funny story. That algorithm learned that the people who should be working in tech are white men because all the successful applications that they were looking at were statistically from white men. Uh, and so they were triaging applications from women and people of color, using the algorithm. And this was like, and they present it as like, oh, it's objective. It's like, no, the fuck it isn't, you dumb shit. Um, anyways, learn your tools. Oh, that just got dark. It got like literally dark because I covered my window. um, what was I saying? Anyways, complicated. But yeah, I don't know. So like to some extent, like free mocap is both for the positive uses and also just to like make sure that people understand more how these tools work. Just like get it into more hands in this kind of like transparent transparent box, like not so like a Move AI, because it's a proprietary software, is obligated to keep it closed source, which means they have to not teach you how it works, because if they teach you how it works, you could just make your own. So we, by making this tool and making it open and making it transparent and building these plot hooks, saying like, hey, maybe you don't want to know how the nitty gritty works, but if you ever felt like you did, we've built this sort of like happy, friendly pipeline for you to sort of go from your space of like happy space and animation and sort of like start to go deeper into the machine learning, computer vision, AI parts of it, in order to get more people to understand how these tools work, so that you can defend yourself from it. So that if you find out that your employer is using one of these things unethically, you can know more about that technology and then have a better understanding of how to interact with it in that moment. Because so much of, I think, control, particularly like technologically derived control and surveillance, is sort of predicated on this assumption that people don't understand stuff, like facial recognition. I once saw. I need to wrap up. I have another meeting in 10 minutes, but it's Trent, so I'm probably just gonna ask him for a delay. I remember like when I was on TikTok a while back, like I came across this post from this like young lady, probably in like looked like high school age, and the game she was playing was fuck this facial recognition stuff. It freaks me out. And she was putting makeup on her face to try to break the facial recognition. And when was not doing it was relatively unsuccessful with it, because she was putting her makeup on in the wrong way to break the algorithm. So she was doing things like putting stuff like on her like different colors on her eyes, and like painting her nose red or something like that. Stuff that like makes intuitive sense to like break your face, but those things actually increase the like most facial recognition algorithms. The neural networks one are like black box. We don't know how they work, but like they typically work by looking at the general statistical structure of your face. So what they want is like dark patch, dark patch. That's mostly what they're looking for. And so anything you can do to break up those statistics. So like if you can, so like the way to do it is to make your face asymmetrical, connect this dark patch to that dark patch, make like sort of like just make this whole thing white. And so it's like dark patch, light patch, dark patch. And so like there's kind of like there's techniques that if you understood more about how those technologies worked, you would have she would have like if she understood the underlying technology of like the TikTok like facial like filter app, she would have been better suited to that would also work to do the things she was trying to do, which is to break the AI's ability to track her face. So I think about that a lot in terms of like I don't know why you would need to defend yourself from this kind of tracking algorithm, but I think that people deserve to know how this stuff works so that anyway, the thing I was trying to do, yeah, Marcus, you got it. Like, yeah, tangents, important tangents, but tangents nonetheless. Okay. So this is a document. It's a very, very rough draft of a document headed by Philip Queen, who is a member of my lab, also like a world-class big line slackliner and member I think he's a founding member of the International Slackline Association, but that's beside the point. And he was interested in getting started on writing like an ethics statement for freemocap in order to like I don't know exactly what like it just to kind of like start putting some of these things on paper so it's like it's out loud, it's and we in the kind of like thinking about this kind of like these two classes of like there's ethics associated with like the core software of freemocap, things like does it track people with darker skin, things like does it track people who are like like does it track people who are obese, which is a thing for these things. They don't like they assume a certain statistics of like human shape, and so if you're disabled, if you're an amputee, if you are overweight, like beyond whatever statistics, they have a harder time tracking. Things like accessibility, things like understanding how the software like that's like technology, that's like ethics associated with like the core of like the freemocap project. But there's also the ethics of like potential downstream uses of it. And I think I was giving these guys I have this is the deep fake thing is a good example of an ethically fraught thing. I don't think I give them enough credit. I think that they're doing something here. They're putting it up front. They're talking about the issues and they have some claims. And I think that I didn't give them enough credit. I think they're probably doing their best. And I think they're even, having not read all these words, they're saying something to the effect of horrible things have been done with similar software. And then probably there's something to the effect of knowledge is protection. But it's challenging because it's like knowledge is protection, but also like if you're giving people knowledge by making the tool more accessible, then bad actors are more likely to find that tool than the potential victims of those bad actors are to find that education. Complicated. So Philip wrote this draft. I don't even actually know what is in it. I want to look at it. Okay, look at that. Fucking Philip, man. I don't know if you're watching this, Philip, in the current or in the future, but I love the way you operate. And so this is like a first draft of it. Actually, let's read it together as a group. I'm just going to email, I'm going to message trying to push to 3:30. Okay. I'm not going to read this. I'm tired. But I am going to approve it and then merge it. This is not good. This is not good PR rules, but actually it's fine because it's the first. It's fine. Yay. Submit review. And then, oh, and I have learned that the, what's the word? The protocol is that the person who submits the pull request should be the one who merges it. So I will say, hey, Philip, apparently the, yeah, exactly. There's kind of this vibe here where it's like, that's one thing I like about like Markdown plus GitHub is it's an opportunity to kind of like practice a lot of like the code flow and mechanisms of Git and Git backups and the kind of like that and pull requests and whatnot. But it's lower stakes because it's text. Especially this is like the first version of this. If this was like an edit, I would have to read it more closely. But I trust Philip enough to know that he didn't like sneak in something in there that's just like bullet point 5 is we hate black people. It's like, no, Philip. Edit. But I trust him that his first draft is good because also we talked about this draft. And this is not the first draft. There's actually several drafts in already. Apparently the protocol, the general protocol of pull request is that the person who submitted the request should be the one who merges it after everything is approved. So this looks good to me. So I have not read it closely though. So go ahead and merge. And that's the comment. Now you may notice that he could have just done this to begin with, and that's not ideal. I think is that true? I'm actually not sure if that's true. I need to set up this is another like I'm gonna try to basically mimic the things that I saw, like mimic a lot of the mechanisms that I saw Endurance use to help set up the main freemocap server. I can try to mimic here once again in this kind of like lower stakes. Oh, sorry, I sent that to the wrong thing. Yeah, practice. Okay. Anyways, I got exhausted. I'm exhausted. I got like all worked up talking about ethics, and it's been fun. It's been like almost like 2.5+ hours, but a lot of fun things to say. Okay, now I will throw you at people. I don't think there's a ton of people on the stream right now, but that's okay. Who's out there? Oh bother. I like this friend. This guy does a lot of like DIY hacky buildy stuff, and I like it. So I'm going to throw you at him. I also Lana Lux and EJSA are also cool, but I don't. They're doing dev stuff, but mainly they're bigger, so you won't be noticed. So I'm gonna send you here so you can be noticed and make friends. Oh, but he's BRB'd right now. What's she up to? Ah, fuck you. I'm gonna send y'all to Bother, and then you can. Wait, what's going on? Oh, 43 people already in there. I'm gonna send you to Bother because I'm tired. I want to get off. Raid. Oh bother. Oh, there he is. Okay. And then I think that will queue y'all up. And then I push the button. And then I walk away. And I say, thanks y'all for chatting. And look forward to chatting more. Looking forward to the future. And